We're back, and we're having a great conversation with Julian Miller. We're talking about his affiliation and his working with the distinguished Supreme Court Justice Reuben V. Anderson. Tell us how you met again and how you guys are collaborating.
No, absolutely. So it actually began when my first year of law practice. I worked at Butler Snow Law Firm, and I had got involved, invited to get involved in a case with the Mississippi Department of Education involving state testing. And so at the time, the chief counsel for MDE was Raina Anderson, his daughter, his amazing daughter, and I got a chance to meet her and work with her on the case and develop a friendship. And she again is the biggest champion for his legacy. And she of course followed his footsteps of being a distinguished Tougaloo graduate, being a Ole Miss law graduate, and going to practice law. And so we talked about ways in which because one thing about Reuben Anderson is that his biggest thing is how can he make the state of Mississippi better? And so it's one of the first projects we ever did, and as certainly as a tribute to no one realizes Justice Anderson, for all his distinction, he began his career as a civil rights education, and he was part of the legal team that integrated uh, almost every school district in the state of Mississippi after the Alexander v. Holmes decision. And so it was such an honor to me that I fell into education, came sort of I think with education law. And so one of the first projects we ever did, Raina and I, was establishing an education law, the state's first ever education law and policy clinic at Mississippi College Law School in his name. I had the pleasure of teaching and operating director that clinic for about 4 years. And it was established both, yes, as a tribute to and acknowledging, the transformative work he did as an education lawyer, but also fast forward, um, there was such a need for lawyers in Mississippi, across the country, but especially in Mississippi, that actually represented, public school students, especially public school students of color, in school disciplinary, special education court matters across the state, as well as doing impact litigation and policy addressing educational disparities. And so there was such a need for that and to bring lawyers in that space. And so we established that clinic, and that was the first project we established in his name. And I had a chance to work with some of the most brilliant law students in the country, uh, zealously representing several students and successfully in the school discipline, special education, and youth court matters, and also to we drafted legislation to ensure special compliance with special education. Certain laws were compliant with special education law, and so that was actually the first project we ever did together, and he supported that. And but then it was I had the opportunity. His first love is God, second love family, third love Tougaloo College. And so eventually, I had the opportunity to find my way to Tougaloo College, and in 2019, I had the privilege of being able to step in as director of the Advanced Law program. Which, fun fact, that was not supposed to be the case. That was actually not going to happen. That was not supposed to happen. I was Raina and I. We started the clinical project, and then we established the Advanced Center for Justice nonprofit. And the goal was through the nonprofit to kind of use it as a way in which not to reinvent any wheel, but to really kind of help support the great work that had already been going on in Mississippi, great anti-poverty work that had been going on, and partnering with institutions in order to do that. And so we the goal was to start an institute at Tougaloo College, which became the Reuben Anderson Institute of Social Justice. And so the goal was to kind of leverage the work with the center to start that. And I would just sort of be doing that through the center. But the person who was the pre-law director had ended up, moving on and coming on to become the city attorney for the city of Jackson. And so the position was open, and I called Raina, and I was like, "Okay, so I don't know how we." Because again, when Justice Anderson, says just you get it done, I was like, "I don't know how this is going to work because there's no new director." And I said, "Well, maybe I could step in as pre-law director." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Well, I mean, how hard could it be? And we need to get this done anyway. And I don't want to necessarily be dependent upon someone else. It may not be their vision. Like whomever comes in as PR director has the right to whatever vision they want." And so, I was like, let me step in and do this, and we'll leverage it and build the institute. And it changed my life, like, it really because I never in a million years, if you'd have told me like, I always wanted to be a law professor, and I had the opportunity at Mississippi College Law School, but I never thought I would ever be working with an HBC, and be involved. My little brother was a Tougaloo. I had my experience with Tougaloo was my little brother, he as a student, and, but other than that, I never thought I would, be at Tougaloo,
Wow.
be, a free law director, and it was man, it was life changing. When I came in with the program in spring of 2019, we had about 9 students total program,
Mm,
9 students in pre-law. And when I left in 2024, we had 106
wow.
public policy and pre-law. Yeah, we had
Wow.
1,000% enrollment growth. And we had ended up we have we and today I still do pre-law advising. I volunteer now as my role I'm volunteering now. I'm still, I always tell people the only difference is I don't have an office. So I still do the advising. And since that time, from 2019 till now, you've had about 67 graduates of the Anderson, uh 35 into law school, all on scholarships, 17 in grad school.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah,
That is
yeah,
amazing.
and so yeah, and so they I mean, and this it look it listen, the kids were just extraordinary. I think just Anderson, I never forget when he got in 2019, it was my first year, and we had graduation, and he was given his honorary degree. And afterwards, he told me, he said, the biggest thing he said, the biggest thing, son, he says, you do is make sure you treat them special. Talk about the kids, make sure you treat them special. And we did. We were able over that period of time from that time 2019 to present between the Anderson Center and what we raised for the Institute at Tougaloo, we raised about $14.7 million.
Okay.
And we were diligent about of any HBCU in the country. We were because for me it was so you had to understand something. When I went to Harvard was free, like, and I had scholarships, so it was never like I was economically secure, so I could focus on school and focus on my future. The world was your oyster. What I was so taken aback by was how extremely brilliant and gregarious and impressive these kids were, facing this such levels of economic insecurity. And that didn't, I couldn't understand. Like, I'm like, don't get me wrong. I mean, college, I mean, yeah, it builds character, but I think that you only need so much character. I wanted them because at the time I came in addition to trying to get them focused and trying to, put the pre-law program back on track and getting them focused on that, the students had led the work as far as the Anderson Institute. So I had tried to get them in law school at the same time trying to have them lay the ground for what would be the Anderson Institute, the anti-poverty work we did with Anderson. And so I knew that that was a lot on them. So I was like, well, we need to try to be diligent to make sure that they had that stipends, they had economic support, they had scholarships to be able to do this. And we did that well. Like, the most of that money was invested in them. If you were a student in the Anderson, you at least on a bad year, based upon the project work they did, thing, can make $10,000 to $15,000.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was purposeful. Like, that was intentional. Try to make sure that that we can't think about trying to address poverty and address these economic disparities if we couldn't do it with the students that are leading the work.
Mhm.
So to me, that was the height of hypocrisy.
Wow.
So we were very very diligent about that, and Justice Anderson, you know, diligent was very adamant about that.
He's such a special guy.
He really is.
I remember when we finally took down the old
Yeah.
flag, the flag of Mississippi, the rebel flag that had flown over the state forever, finally came down. And when it came down, they folded it up at the state capitol on the steps, and they handed it to Supreme Court Justice Reuben Anderson, a black man. You take the flag down and you hand it to a black man in Mississippi. That's
That
wonderful
was powerful.
progress there for sure. Now you mentioned that you raised $14 million or something like that. That's larger than the school's budget, isn't it?
Oh my God, it's almost the school's budget, I think.
It's
Oh
clo-
wow. Yeah.
it's close.
Almost.
It's probably close to it, and so that was a great boost for the university for Tougaloo College. I call it a university because in Mississippi every college got to be a university on the same day.
There you go.
It didn't have anything to do with the programs that you offered, the doctoral degrees that you could afford. It's just one day we were Alcorn State College and Mississippi Valley State College and Tougaloo College and Jackson State College. And then the next day we were
University.
universities.
That makes sense.
So there is a difference between a college and a university, and so, but I'm not sure I understand exactly what it is. But you haven't gone to Harvard and been out of this country. Share a little bit of that with us. How do you do that? How do you become a university?
Well, so it's basically, there's universities have accrediting bodies. And so typically if you still have a college designation, it's because you don't necessarily offer you have to offer a certain amount of like graduate degrees and have graduate programs in order to be classified as a university. And so Tulu only has the Masters of Arts in, and I think the Masters of Child Development. I think those are the only two. Yeah, I think to my knowledge, and and I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those are the only two sort of graduate programs that it has within their division, education division. But it's not sufficient at this point for it to be, for it to be classified as a university. But again, like I said, it depends upon the accrediting body and what they and the number of grad programs that you would have to have that they would designate for you to be receive the designations.
So in the HBCUs in Mississippi, is there one that has a law school? Or?
No, it's funny you say that. Um, for a long time when the University of Mississippi Law School was established, it was the only for a long time it was the only full time law school in the state. And it at the time, like Wisconsin has now, we had for the long time we had diploma privilege. So again, that's why just the answer will tell you in Consulate Harvey when they came in as the first black male and female graduate, they would just tell you, yeah, we wanted to go to the University of Mississippi because we want to be civil rights lawyers in Mississippi, and you graduate from the University of Mississippi, you get you graduate with your bar license. And so it was like that was the whole thing. And so for the longest time, University of Mississippi was the only full time law school in the state. There was a Jackson Law School, which was the only part time law school. And of course, if you went there, you would have had to take the Mississippi bar. But at one point, I think it was in 1983, I think Mississippi College purchased the old Jackson Law School, and it became Mississippi College Law School. And when that happened, the diploma privilege went away. So both Ole Miss Law and MC Law graduates had to take the bar. But my understanding was at some point there was discussions about potentially placing that law school at Jackson State, and of course, obviously it never materialized.
Right.
But if it had have happened, then the law school, if the law school had been placed at Jackson State, it would have been one of that would have made it in like the eighth HBCU law school in the country.
Okay, I'm familiar with the one at Southern,
Yes,
and I believe at Texas Southern.
yes.
They both have law schools there.
Howard, of course, is considered the best.
I never considered Howard a HBCU. I don't know why. Morehouse, I don't consider those. I don't think the struggle was the same. I guess that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't think you had to leave the school and go to the farm.
I got you.
But anyway, I digress. Now, we've had a great conversation, and I know Chris Young speaks highly of you and the work that you've done. And on a serious note, that the accomplishment to have that many students enrolled in pre-law school or going through the institution, going on to further their education. Because children, when they enter college, they don't know what they want to be. They when they get there, they don't have any idea. Now, some of them, if they come from second generation or third generation, there may be. But for most of them, they don't know. So it's just a blessing to have someone pick them up at that level, tutor them, and give them a sense of direction and move in.
And this generation is extraordinary. Like they're absolutely extraordinary young people. They're very self-aware and they're very progressive. And I mean, they are well accomplished. I've got students right now who like leads a nonprofit focused on gun violence, and one who put together this whole like water program addressing water, just a lack of water resources in the hometown, and they're participating, like right now, under the center and with Tugelu and Delta Health Center and Tufts Freeman School, we lead the largest, prescription produce program in the United States. In its fourth year, it was a $7 million NIH funded grant. That's where half of it came from. That's where it came from. And they're six student fellows who are leading this work that, would transform healthcare by, allowing locally grown produce to be purchased the same way, like by Medicaid, Medicare, same as prescription drugs.
Okay.
And they're leading that work. So yeah, they're really, like I said, they really leaned in. Like I said, I just ride there.
Julian, I am going to have you back. I want to continue this conversation and explore some the things that you know about the direction that the great state of Mississippi is headed in. I want to talk to you about what's going on internationally across the world. I want to talk to you a little bit about, this midterm election.